Welcome to Bible in a Year with Scott Purcell. I'm so glad you're joining me. This is a daily reading of portions of the Bible, following a plan that will include the entire Bible in a year. And now, let's open the book and begin our readings. This is the reading for day 150. If your reading is aligned with the calendar year, in a non-leap year, this is for May 30th, or in a leap year, for May 29th. The Old Testament reading is from 1 Samuel chapters 26, 27, and 28. 1 Samuel chapter 26. The Ziphites came to Saul at Gibeah, saying, "Is not David hiding on the hill of Hachilah opposite Jeshimon?" Then Saul got up and went down to the wilderness of Ziph, and 3,000 chosen men of Israel with him to seek David in the wilderness of Ziph. Now Saul was on the hill of Hachilah, which is opposite Jeshimon by the road, but David was staying in the wilderness. When he realized that Saul had come to the wilderness after him, David sent spies, and he learned that Saul had come for certain. Then David got up and came to the place where Saul had encamped, and David saw the place where Saul was lying down, as well as Abner the son of Ner, the commander of his army. Now Saul was lying in the encampment, and the army was encamping around him. David answered and said to Ahimelech the Hittite and to Abishai the son of Zeruiah, the brother of Joab, saying, "Who will go down with me to Saul in the camp?" And Abishai said, "I will go down with you." So David and Abishai came to the army by night, and there was Saul, lying asleep in the encampment with his spear thrust into the ground near his head. And Abner and the army were lying all around him. Then Abishai said to David, "God has handed over your enemy into your hand today. So then, please let me pin him to the ground with the spear one time, and I will not strike him twice." But David said to Abishai, "Do not destroy him. For who has stretched out his hand against Yahweh's anointed one and remained blameless?" And David said, "As Yahweh lives, certainly Yahweh will strike him, or his day will come and he will die, or he will go down in the battle and perish. Yahweh forbid me from stretching out my hand against Yahweh's anointed one. So then, please take the spear that is near his head and the jar of water, and let us go." So David took the spear and the jar of water from near Saul's head, and they went away. No one saw, no one knew, and no one awakened, for all of them were sleeping, because a deep sleep of Yahweh had fallen upon them. Then David went to the other side and stood on the top of the hill at a distance. The distance was great between them. David called out to the army and to Abner the son of Ner, "Will you not answer, Abner?" And Abner answered and said, "Who are you that you call to the king?" So David said to Abner, "Are you not a man? And who is like you in Israel? Why did you not keep watch over your lord the king? For one of the people came to destroy your lord the king. This thing that you have done is not good. As Yahweh lives, surely you people deserve to die, since you have not kept watch over your Lord, over Yahweh's anointed one. So then, see where the king's spear is, and the jar of water that was near his head." Then Saul recognized David's voice, and said, "Is this your voice, my son David?" And David said, "It is my voice, my lord the king." Then he said, "Why is my lord pursuing after his servant? For what have I done? And what evil is in my hand? And so then, please let my lord the king listen to the words of his servant. If Yahweh has incited you against me, may he delight in an offering. But if it is mortals, may they be accursed before Yahweh, for they have driven me away today from sharing in the inheritance of Yahweh, saying, 'Go, serve other gods.' And so then, do not let my blood fall to the ground, away from the presence of Yahweh. For the king of Israel has gone out to seek a single flea, as one hunts a partridge in the mountains." Then Saul said, "I have sinned. Come back, David, my son, for I will not harm you again, because my life was precious in your eyes this day. Look, I have acted like a fool, and have made a terrible mistake." David answered and said, "Here is the king's spear. Let one of your young men come over and take it. Yahweh repays to each one his righteousness and his faithfulness. For Yahweh gave you into my hand today, but I was not willing to stretch out my hand against Yahweh's anointed. Look, as your life was precious in my eyes this day, may my life be great in the eyes of Yahweh, and may he rescue me from all trouble." Then Saul said to David, "Blessed are you, my son David. You will not only do many things, but also will always succeed." Then David went on his way, and Saul returned to his place. 1 Samuel chapter 27. Then David thought to himself, "Now I will perish one day by the hand of Saul. There is nothing better for me but that I must certainly escape to the land of the Philistines. Then Saul will desist from searching for me further in all of the territories of Israel, and so I will escape from his hand." So David got up and crossed over, he and the 600 men who were with him, to Achish the son of Maoch, the king of Gath. David settled with Achish in Gath, he and his men, each with his household. David took along his 2 wives, Ahinoam from Jezreel, and Abigail, the wife of Nabal the Carmelite. And it was reported to Saul that David had fled to Gath, so he no longer searched for him. Then David said to Achish, "Please, if I have found favor in your eyes, then let them give me a place in one of the country towns that I can live there. Why should your servant live in the royal city with you?" So Achish gave him Ziklag on that day. Therefore Ziklag has belonged to the kings of Judah until this day. The number of days that David lived in the countryside of the Philistines was 1 year and 4 months. Now David and his men went up and raided the Geshurites and the Girzites and the Amalekites, for they had been living in the land for a long time in the direction of Shur and as far as the land of Egypt. So David struck the land and did not leave a man or a woman alive. He took the sheep, the cattle, the donkeys, the camels, and the clothing. Then he returned and came to Achish. And Achish said, "Against whom have you raided today?" David said, "Against the Negev of Judah, and against the Negev of the Jerahmeelites, and against the Negev of the Kenites." And David did not leave alive a man or a woman to bring them back to Gath, thinking, "So that they will not report about us, saying, 'David did thus and so.'" Thus was his practice all the days that he lived in the countryside of the Philistines. And Achish trusted David, saying, "He has made himself utterly hated among his people in Israel, and he will be my servant forever." 1 Samuel 28. Now in those days the Philistines gathered their forces for war to fight against Israel. So Achish said to David, "Certainly you realize that you must go out with me in the army, you and your men." David said to Achish, "Very well, you know what your servant can do." Achish said to David, "Very well, I will make you my bodyguard for life." Now Samuel had died, and all Israel had mourned for him, and they had buried him in Ramah, his own city. And Saul had expelled the mediums and the soothsayers from the land. Then the Philistines assembled, and came and encamped at Shunem. So Saul assembled all Israel, and they encamped at Gilboa. When Saul saw the army of the Philistines, he was afraid, and his heart trembled greatly. And Saul inquired of Yahweh, but Yahweh did not answer him, not by dreams, or by the Urim, or by the prophets. So Saul said to his servants, "Search for me a woman who is a medium, so that I may go to her and inquire of her." His servants said to him, "Look, there is a woman who is a medium in En-dor." So Saul disguised himself and put on other clothes, and he went with 2 of his men. And they came to the woman by night, and he said, "Please consult a spirit for me through the ritual pit, and bringing up for me the one whom I tell you." But the woman said to him, "Look, you know what Saul did, how he exterminated the mediums and the soothsayers from the land. Why are you setting a trap for my life to kill me?" Then Saul swore to her by Yahweh, "As Yahweh lives, you will not be punished for this thing." So the woman asked, "Whom shall I bring up for you?" He said, "Bring up Samuel for me." When the woman saw Samuel, she cried out with a loud voice. And the woman said to Saul, "Why did you deceive me? You are Saul." The king said to her, "Do not be afraid. What do you see?" And the woman said to Saul, "I see a god coming up from the ground." Then he said to her, "What is his appearance?" She said, "An old man is coming up, and he is wrapped in a robe." Then Saul realized that it was Samuel, and he knelt with his face to the ground and bowed down. Then Samuel said to Saul, "Why have you disturbed me by bringing me up?" And Saul said, "I am in distress, for the Philistines are about to make war against me, but God has turned away from me, and he does not answer me any more, not by the prophets or by the dreams. So I called to you to let me know what I should do." Then Samuel said, "Why do you ask me, since Yahweh has turned away from you and has become your enemy? Yahweh has done to you just as he spoke by my hand. Yahweh has torn the kingdom from your hand and has given it to your neighbor, to David. Because you did not obey Yahweh and did not carry out the fierce anger of his wrath against Amalek, therefore Yahweh has done this thing to you today. And Yahweh will also give Israel with you into the hand of the Philistines. And tomorrow you and your sons will be with me. And Yahweh will also give the army of Israel into the hand of the Philistines." Then Saul immediately fell prostrate to the ground, and he was very afraid because of the words of Samuel. There was no more strength in him, for he had not eaten food all day and all night. Then the woman came to Saul and realized that he was absolutely terrified. So she said to him, "Look, your female servant has obeyed you, and I have risked my life. I have listened to your words that you have spoken to me. So then, you also please listen to the voice of your female servant, and let me set before you a morsel of bread, and you eat so that you will have strength in you when you go on your way." But he refused and said, "I will not eat." However, his servants urged him, and the woman also. So he listened to what they said, and he got up from the ground and sat on the bed. Now the woman had a fattened bull calf in the house, so she quickly slaughtered it, and took flour, kneaded dough, and baked him some unleavened bread. She brought it before Saul and his servants, and they ate. Then they got up and went away that night. The New Testament reading is from John 19, verses 1 through 27. John 19. So then Pilate took Jesus and had him flogged. And the soldiers wove a crown of thorns and placed it on his head and put a purple robe on him, and were coming up to him and saying, "Hail, King of the Jews!" and were giving him slaps in the face. And Pilate came outside again and said to them, "Behold, I am bringing him outside to you, so that you will know that I find no basis for an accusation against him." Then Jesus came outside, wearing the crown of thorns and the purple robe, and he said to them, "Behold the man!" And when they saw him, the chief priest and the officers shouted, "Crucify! Crucify!" Pilate said to them, "You take him and crucify him, for I do not find a basis for an accusation against him." The Jews replied to him, "We have a law, and according to the law he ought to die, because he made himself out to be the Son of God." So when Pilate heard this statement, he was even more afraid, and he entered into the governor's residence again and said to Jesus, "Where are you from?" But Jesus did not give him an answer. So Pilate said to him, "Will you not speak to me? Do you not know that I have authority to release you, and I have authority to crucify you?" Jesus replied to him, "You would not have any authority over me unless it were given to you from above. For this reason, the one who handed me over to you has greater sin." From this point on, Pilate was seeking to release him. But the Jews shouted, saying, "If you release this man, you are not a friend of Caesar. Everyone who makes himself out to be a king opposes Caesar." So Pilate, when he heard these words, brought Jesus outside and sat down on the judgment seat in the place called the Stone Pavement, but Golgotha in Aramaic. Now it was the day of preparation of the Passover. It was about the 6th hour. And he said to the Jews, "Behold your king." Then those shouted, "Away with him! Away with him! Crucify him!" Pilate said to them, "Shall I crucify your king?" The chief priest replied, "We do not have a king except Caesar." So he handed him over to them in order that he could be crucified. So they took Jesus, and carrying for himself the cross, he went out to the place called the Place of a Skull, which is called Golgotha in Aramaic, where they crucified him, and with him 2 others, one on each side, and Jesus in the middle. And Pilate also wrote a notice, and placed it on the cross, and it was written, "Jesus the Nazarene, the King of the Jews." So many of the Jews read this notice because the place where Jesus was crucified was near the city, and it was written in Aramaic, in Latin, and in Greek. Then the chief priest of the Jews said to Pilate, "Do not write, 'The King of the Jews,' but 'He said, I am the King of the Jews.'" Pilate replied, "What I have written, I have written." Then the soldiers, when they had crucified Jesus, took his clothing and made 4 shares, for each soldier a share, and the tunic. Now the tunic was seamless, woven from the top in a single piece. So they said to one another, "Let us not tear it apart, but cast lots for it to see whose it will be," so that the scripture would be fulfilled that says, "They divided my garments among themselves, and for my clothing they cast lots." Thus the soldiers did these things. Now his mother, and the sister of his mother, Mary, the wife of Clopas, and Mary Magdalene, were standing near the cross of Jesus. So Jesus, seeing his mother and the disciple whom he loved standing there, said to his mother, "Woman, behold your son." Then he said to the disciple, "Behold your mother." And from that hour the disciple took her into his own home. The wisdom literature reading is from Psalm 68, verse 21 through 27. Psalm 68:21. But God will shatter the head of his enemies, the hairy scalp of the one who continues on in his guilt. The Lord said, "I will bring them back from Bashan. I will bring them back from the depths of the sea, so that your foot may shatter them bloody, for the tongues of your dogs to have their share from the enemies." They have seen your procession, O God, the processions of my God, my King, distinctive in victory. Singers went up front, those playing stringed instruments last, between them young women playing tambourines. Bless God in the assemblies, Yahweh from the fountain of Israel. There is little Benjamin ruling them, with the princes of Judah in their throng. the princes of Zebulun and the princes of Naphtali. This concludes the reading for day 150. Thank you for listening. These daily readings are made possible by your generous support of the global outreach ministry of Scott Purcell. To partner with us and enable this work and others like it, please visit huttobible.com/give and select Go Pastor Support from the fund list. You can also sign up for ministry updates at scott-purcell.org/subscribe. Both of those links can be found in the podcast description. Thank you for helping us share God's Word.